Hey guys, it's Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, back again with Star Trek Picard. It's been a little while.
A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks.
Some things have happened which have unfortunately meant that we have not been reacting to the latest episodes of Picard. But we don't need to go into too many details on it. If you've watched some of my other videos, you probably know what's going on. But anyway, because we are a couple episodes behind, we are going to be watching 2 episodes today in this recording session, but it'll still be 2 videos. And these will just kind of go out when I get them done. So I know normally the idea was that Picard would go up on Mondays, but I probably won't be able to stick to that necessarily. So that's pretty much that. Last time on Star Trek Picard, if we can remember that far back, let's see.
There's Borg and Romulans, and
yes.
Picard got himself a crew.
He did. He has a crew.
And a ship, although it's not his.
Yeah, it's I believe Captain Rios was his name, and
he apparently has a bunch of holograms that look just like him.
Yeah, just with different accents. We're also taking Raffi with us, at least for a little bit so far, and
the doctor,
Dr. Girardi, I think was her name, and we are going off on our adventure now.
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman with a name that does not fit.
Well, I don't know. It's the future. So, that's pretty much where we left off. So, this is where we now have to say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever, since y'all are a few episodes ahead of us. But this is also where we say that if you want to watch our reaction to this episode of Star Trek Picard, unfortunately, it is not in this video due to copyright reasons. So, what you gotta do is head down in the description or to the pinned comment on this video, and there'll be a link there, and you click that, it will take you to our reaction highlight, where the footage is all down here, it's all edited, it's like 10 minutes long, it's all nice and good. And you can watch that and hopefully have a good time. And when you're done with that, you can pop right back over to the YouTube video for our discussion on this episode.
As I have mentioned before, even I have done that. And if I can do it, and I am a technological dinosaur. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
He's not, but he says he is. So, it's pretty simple. Just head down, description, pinned comment. It's there. You just go. Hopefully you have a good time. And then you can pop right back up here. So, with that being said, we might as well get right into this episode of Star Trek Picard. Here we go. Although, if you're going to a Borg cube, taking a former Borg's not a bad idea, honestly. So, alrighty, that's episode 4.
Except for that second episode, what I'm liking is the fact that they do have a lot of setup. They do have a lot of, there's a lot of backstory we have to get through, but there's a lot of action to it too. So it's not just, incredibly, let's slog through all of this exposition. Yeah. It's, slicing a guy's head off, blowing up a couple of ships. So it's
right.
It's engaging. It's very engaging. I'll say that for it.
The one part of it that I would say, like when it gets to it, it's like, all right, what's this? What are we doing here? Is whenever they cut back to Soji and Narek, I'm just like, okay, what are they doing here? It's like, it's the one thing where it's like, I don't know what's happening. We never get a step closer to what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, there's that. And I even says, like, we don't talk during their scenes. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm sure that we'll all
I'm sure. It's just that their parts are just slow, just so slow to build to.
Yeah. Well, like he said, planting a seed, it takes a while for that seed to grow.
He planted the first seed. It's episode 4. Let's get a couple more seeds going. Anyway. Well, we can go ahead and head into the notes. I'm happy. I realized halfway through, I was like, oh wait, I could write notes with my right hand now. That's nice. Anyway, the first thing I wrote down was the relocation, which was interesting. So we got a bit of backstory on the initial relocations that they were doing before everything went to hell, basically, which was interesting. Kind because I was kind of confused. Like, okay, is this after? Is this before? But it was before the attack on Mars, which was
because he was interrupted in the middle of talking.
Right. So yeah,
but it was interesting what the guy at the end there at the cantina said, that the Romulans who had been all in one place in the Romulan Empire now begin to feel that they were deliberately scattered to these various places so that they couldn't become that again. And you can kind of see why they would feel that.
Yeah.
But, if in fact they are, as advanced technologically and societally, if that's even a word, as he says, then how is it that they have not come back from that? Why are they still living in a relatively primitive society? Right.
Because, I mean, it was sort of... It was kind of giving off a Wrath of Khan vibe towards the end there, where it's like, we were put here, and then, Picard didn't come back and check or something, and it's like, Picard kind of gave up. But, yeah, it is interesting. It's like, okay, well, why haven't you built everything? Like, okay, the whole thing of, yes, they seem to be, like, deliberately separated. It's like, okay, well, I guess that could kind of make sense for the Federation, because, they're still technically enemies with the Romulans. So to completely dissolve the Romulan Empire like that, well, that does sort of make sense for them to do, as bad as that is. But yeah, why is it that they haven't come back in 14 years? Like, or if you know that you've all been scattered, why don't you all then start to slowly regroup over these 14 years? It seems like they're all just sort of sitting around in their little cafe, until Picard shows up.
It does seem to be that they're... I mean, yes, there's blame on Picard's side, but it does seem to be there's blame on their side too.
Yeah.
I did find the thing, though, where he took down the Romulans only sign and walked in amongst them. That's very reminiscent of some of the early civil rights stuff, where people just deliberately said, "I'm not going to. That's the rule. That's the law. I'm just not going to obey it. I'm going to literally break the law to challenge the law."
Right.
So,
and it does show you how confident Picard is in that. Which he did have 7 minutes before they were going to be ready to beam him back, but that's still 7 minutes. He's going in as an 80-year-old man, not being able to really challenge them. So it was a bit of a it was a risk, but he was that confident in it. So let's see. Wrote down Elnor. So for a second I was thinking, it's like, okay, Elnor is like, all right, that was 14 years ago, so now he's grown up. For a second I was like, please tell me Elnor is not Narek. And I was like, no, that maybe they won't do that. And then they didn't go that route.
I had that brief thing too.
Yeah.
But then when the young guy showed up there at the convent or whatever it is,
right,
that had to be him. Now, this is going to sound very weird, but the name Elnor is so close to Eleanor, which is a female name, that's it takes some getting used to, because you expect someone named Elnor to, in my opinion, be a woman. So,
where have I heard the name Elnor before? I feel like there's someone with the name Elnor, but I can't think of it. I don't know.
Of course, I'm thinking of Eleanor of Aquitaine, but
yeah. See, I would have thought Eleanor Roosevelt. So, but still, yeah.
American history, world history.
Wow. Let's see. And we also got let me see all these names. The Coat Milat. There's so many Romulan words in this show. But we got the Coat Milat, which are basically warrior nuns, Romulan warrior nuns, and you can't have any Romulan warrior priests, apparently, but it's like they said that, but then he took it on anyway. Like he did that with Picard anyway, and it's like, well, I guess that's just that. Like,
well, they set it up that they're obviously the implacable foe of the Tal Shiar.
Yeah,
but considering that Romulus was at one point an extremely militaristic, I mean, they're called the Romulans because they were based on the Roman Empire under the original Roddenberry concept, if I recall correctly. I would guess that the Quat Milat are like the Amazons, which are more Greek than Roman, but still, what has happened to the literally the basis for the entire Romulan civilization. I mean, they used to be very warlike. They were used to following orders. If you go back to, I can't even remember the name of the episode, but it was based on a very famous movie where the original Enterprise with Kirk and Spock and all the rest encountered a Romulan warbird and went back and forth trying to, convince the other that they had been blown up or hurt, and so that they could fire back and do all that sort of stuff. But again, it's all about being very, very militaristic.
Yeah.
And I saw none of that in the Romulans here on Vashti.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I have sort of wondered, so if the Romulans knew ahead of time that their star was going to go supernova and destroy Romulus, it always seems, it seems very odd that it's like, okay, well, they needed the Federation's help. They needed Picard's help, and when Picard and the Federation didn't come through, now they're really angry with him. Or if you even go to the movie, then they reached out to Spock, who tried the antimatter, but he was too late, or the red matter. And it's like, okay, but if you are the Romulan Empire and you have so many ships, why is it that they didn't evacuate Romulus themselves? And I suppose Remus, too. That always seemed odd, that it's like, this is all on the Federation, and even more so a little bit like on Picard too, which I feel like half of it shouldn't like be on Picard. Like, they're blaming him a lot, where it's like, there was only so much he could do. Like, yeah, he could have tried get maybe one or two ships together, but there was only so much he could do.
And I'm also surprised they mentioned the total of 900 million. I mean, I don't want to downplay that, but I mean, currently the Earth has 7 billion, so 900 million. That's actually a rather small amount. You would think that besides the Federation, there were other places, and including the Romulans themselves, that could have evacuated a huge number, at least outside the radius of where the Nova was going to go, so that they could have saved more people. You don't have to bring them all over into the Alpha Quadrant, or take them to the Delta Quadrant or the Gamma Quadrant or whatever, but at least get them out of the initial blast zone.
Yeah.
So perhaps somewhere in these later episodes we'll find out a little bit more about that. But right now, that does seem to be the one kind of sticking point in all of this. Like, there's a whole lot of blame on the Federation and on Picard.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're not hearing enough about what the Romulans could have done themselves.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the Romulans did much. Or even like, if the Romulans either reached out to the Federation or it was Picard that reached out to them, it's like, I also sort of wonder, even though it's still sort of part of the Federation, I guess, why the Klingons didn't do anything either, or any of the other civilizations, in the Beta Quadrant. And it's like, no one else really tried to help Romulus, but maybe they also sort of viewed them as an enemy, which, to be fair, the Federation did too. It was Picard that had to convince them to go in.
But as in the Star Trek VI movie, Kirk is the one who has to go to talk to the Klingons. As Spock noticed, only Nixon can go to China. And again, the same situation. The Klingon had some kind of ecological disaster, and it was up to the Federation to say, we're going to go in, and even though you've been our mortal enemy for 50 to 100 years, we're going to do what we can to save you. And that's what brought the Klingons into the Federation.
Right.
So, but again, hopefully all of this will be brought up in some later episodes here.
Yeah, that's true. So let's see. I wrote down the ritual, the Borg ritual, that clearly not a Borg ritual. He was just screwing with her.
Yeah, because the Borg would never have done anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, as they kept going on, it's like, this is sounding less and less like a ritual. It's like, all right, he's playing her, and he's playing us too as the audience. So it's like, take off your shoes. It's like, Borg didn't have shoes. They just had robot feet. That's not how that. It's like, wait a minute. And then with all like the lasers like going through, it's like, are they going to? Is he going to like do the classic, jump through all the lasers? It's like, the Borg wouldn't do that either. It's like,
I didn't know they were lasers so much as just lights.
Yeah. So, but that's, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, all right, they're just trying to have a cute moment together. It's like, again, those are the only scenes where it's like, okay, we're back to them. Let's get going. I want to get back to Picard and everyone else.
We seem to have a clue about everybody else, but those two are just kind of leaving us in the dark at the moment.
Yeah, we're getting some stuff when, when she's talking to Ramda and researching that stuff, and we're getting some clues of, okay, something about Soji being the destroyer. Whatever that means, I still don't understand it. And where did this whole mythology of the destroyer come in, and how does that relate to Data and his daughter and I guess Bruce Maddox? But again, we'll have to get to that.
Yeah.
Because we have to go find Maddox. So yeah, let's see. I did write down give up. They do emphasize multiple times in this that Picard gave up, which they have been talking about through the past couple episodes, where Raffi was saying oh, you gave up on everything, and it's that has always seemed to be the weirdest thing, is that Picard actually gave up on helping Romulus after he turned in his resignation, basically. Because with this episode, or with these episodes, it's okay, he hired a ship so that he can go do all these things. Why didn't you hire other ships or something? There had to have been something. Or even if we heard that, well, maybe he couldn't get the ships together, but maybe he was also helping Spock with the red matter to, get rid of that star. And then that didn't work out, which leads into the 2009
Well, here's
movie.
the thing. If this is all... And I'll probably regret saying this.
Oh, boy.
Well, no, it's just that if he's in his 80s now, go back 14 years, that would mean he was in his late 60s or early 70s when this started. I got to tell you, being in my late 60s, the idea of, taking on, no matter who I am, taking on something as large as that would be psychologically somewhat daunting, and you might just say, there's nothing I can do. And somebody mentioned, you couldn't save all of us, so you decided to save none of us. That's a very common psychological problem for people to have.
Yeah.
You freeze up, but it's like that old story. After a big storm, people are walking along the beach, and there's a million of those tiny little sand crabs, and one of the guys starts picking them up and throwing them back in, and the other person says to him, "You can't do that with everyone. You can't save all of these crabs." He says, "No, but I can save that one." So that's Picard lost the idea of you can't save them all, but you can save some of them. Do what you can.
Which is what Raffi was trying to tell him. Which, it also begs the question, okay, well, he could have kept going, and he would have had support from Raffi, but at the same time, it's was he the only person in the Federation that said, no, this is wrong, we still need to help them? That would be my next question. It's where was anyone else? You know? And I know it's
Where was
okay,
Riker? Where's
Riker?
Forge?
Yeah, Riker, Geordi, Janeway, Sisko, anyone. There was no one.
Yeah.
And that has always seemed odd about this show, is that it all fell on Picard and he just couldn't do it. So it's an odd premise. It still works, but it's just a very odd premise to the show. Let's see. I wrote down another weird Romulan word. It was Kalkan Kai, something like that, which is, I guess, I'm trying to figure out what's the difference between that and the Koat Malat, because they use both terms.
The Koat Malat, I think, is the order, and the Kalkan Kai is the warrior, the specific warrior. Again, they've used the term several times here, and I'm beginning to finally see their overall idea. This is a quest. This is an Arthurian quest.
Yeah.
Or even going further afield, this is Don Quixote. This is the guy literally tilting at windmills. The guy saying, "I'm going to try to save 900 million people," and people look at him and say, "You're out of your freaking mind."
Yeah.
So, but he has, he's gathering the pieces that he needs. He's got the pilot, and he's got his second in command, and now he's got a warrior, and he's got the doctor, and so they're just like Knights of the Round Table, gathering all of these individuals to find the Holy Grail, in this case, the girl.
Yeah, which now with Elnor there, I suppose he is sort of the most out of place of the rest of them, because they're all just wearing their normal clothes, and he walks in looking completely like a samurai with his sword and everything. So it is a little interesting, like putting him next to the four of them. And also, so he goes in to help Picard, and he's like, don't do this. And when the guy goes ahead and does it, it comes into his head, I'll cut his head off. And he also did it the cool cinematic way, where you slice, wait, then it falls off too. It's like, that was a little much. So it's always one of those things where it's like, okay, there's no one really like tries other appendages to disable a person, which maybe now he will have to because Picard, does not approve of killing anyone. So, but it's like, okay, you could have cut off his hand, cut off his leg, try to immobilize him, beat Monty Python with a Black Knight, just start cutting off appendages, and there you go.
But that's not his training. His training is to do the maximum damage, and he says to the guy, if you choose to do that, you are choosing to accept the consequence.
He did warn him, technically, so...
But people don't think about consequences. Trust me, I teach ninth graders, and they don't understand. When you choose to do this particular behavior, you are choosing this consequence. There is no gray area. You do this, it will result in this. So,
yeah.
Been there, done that.
That Romulan was a ninth grader. That's what we're trying to get at here. But we could see in future episodes Elnor having to restrain himself to appease Picard. Which could be interesting. And the last thing I wrote down was Sebcheneb, which is the other word for destroyer that they gave for Soji. That was interesting. Again, it is just sort of this like, what's happening here? Like okay, there is something with not just her but all of the androids that are apparently still around, because that's why they can't just outright kill her right now. Is they have to find the location for all the other androids, and for some reason she's the destroyer. And I think actually on the last episode we did, someone in the comments said that it's not that because we had the whole thing of one will live and one will die, which one are you? And someone said that it's not one will die and the other is the destroyer. Technically, both Soji and Dodge were the destroyers. It's just that Dodge happened to die too. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they're leading on that.
Again, the name, I didn't recognize it, but it did sound somewhat Assyrian, the old Assyrian Empire, Sennacherib, and some of the others. But again, I'm listening to these names, going, Vashti. Try to think, and it turns out it wasn't Hindu. I'm now reminded that Vashti was a queen in the Old Testament, in the story of Esther and Ahasuerus, who is either Xerxes or Artaxerxes, can't remember which one. But yeah, so they're using a lot of really, really early Earth name symbolism from what sounds like, Greek and Roman and Assyrian and Egyptian and Hindu, and so I don't know where they're going with that. Maybe I'm just picking up too many small clues that have nothing to do with anything.
But I don't know because there's obviously something with this whole destroyer thing, and I don't know. I want to know, but
let's move on and find out.
We have 6 more episodes of the whole season altogether. So yeah, that is pretty much that. We will watch the next episode, and it will go out to YouTube sometime. I don't know. Keep an eye on your sub box. It'll show up sometime.
Yeah, the hand is working again.
Yeah, somewhat. To an extent. That is pretty much that. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of our Star Trek Picard reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.